Okay, we are live. This is lovely Ashley, and Ashley just finished Choose Life Eating
Yeah.
actually a few weeks ago, and so she has transitioned into now packing up her house and moving. There was always the dream of more space and more land to romp and play with her family, and so but I look forward. I'm so excited about connecting, and I haven't got to hear just with words and with face the other side of it. So Ashley, thank you so much for this conversation. I'm excited.
Absolutely. I'm excited too.
So go ahead and tell me, the audience, a little bit about where you were. Where was your starting place with food, eating, thoughts, body image, and even diets? Like, what did you have a roller coaster of diet season, or just where were you with all of that?
So, I have had three children in 4 years in my mid 30s. So, I started 33, 35, 37. My youngest will actually be a year tomorrow. My sweet baby Bradley Kate. Yeah, she's getting to be a big girl. And so, as you can imagine, in your mid 30s, after having three children in 4 years, my body had been through the ringer, and I didn't really bother to lose a ton of the weight in between because my mind was just like, I'm gonna have another baby. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm just getting ready to, obviously can see the error and that lack of wisdom uh, now on the other side of it. But really, gosh, I've just felt like I've been in survival mode for 4 years. My oldest is now 5. And my youngest will be 1 tomorrow. Yeah. So really just spending a lot of time in survival mode. Food was, I see it, I eat it. My kids eat 5 or 6 times a day. So we spend a lot of time in the kitchen, and I was eating 5 or 6 times a day, hungry or not. It's just what you did. Oh, you need a snack? Okay, here's a snack for you. Here's a snack for mommy. We call it a mommy tax at our house. So if mommy has to open something for you, or a daddy tax, that, I'm going to open it and then I get the first bite. And so, I mean, that's really just where I was. Self-image was, well, I mean, it's just not good. Like, just very insecure. I just had my third baby, and then the pandemic hits, and so you're at home all the time, and it's just, it's been a little nuts. So that's where I started with the journey, and realized that, oh, this is not working. I've got to get out of survival mode. Like, my goal, as I prayed this year, and I actually had a friend in Bible study speak this over me last year, but I did not claim it. Like, I didn't really buy into it, but it was going from survive to thrive.
Yeah.
And so January 1, I just was like, okay, God, I believe it now. Like, this is what we're doing. Like, you are going to use me, and I'm going to thrive. And so getting my health in order was one of the, was kind of the first on the list, because if mama's not healthy, then I can't be there for everybody else. Right. So
I love that. Yes, that he clearly was hovering over that space of wanting you to be healthy, and your yes to him, you leaning into his nudge. And so, was Choose Life Eating, was that an easy nudge? Did you have to think about it? What was it that drew you to it, and what was it that was kind of like confusing and maybe even repelling? Like, all right, I don't even know if Kristen was making sense.
So I was super skeptical. So I'd worked with a nutritionist a little bit, and then was like, you know what, this really isn't working. Just from the perspective of like, okay, so they gave me an eating plan, and that helped, and I was still eating 5 times a day, but I wasn't feeling like as wonderful about it. And for that point, it was really to make sure, like, I just wanted to have a healthy nursing supply, like a milk supply. So you were eating a lot more calories than what's necessary. So as you're not like nursing, then that eating plan doesn't really work. Or as you're weaning off of nursing. So all the moms, I'm sure you can feel me on that if you've been there. And so I was starting to go, okay, well, maybe I'll do Weight Watchers. That's what I've always done, is Weight Watchers. Anytime I need to lose weight, I do Weight Watchers. And it's very, for me, I'm type A, and it's very like, eat these foods, count these points, stay within this restriction. And that helps me to feel in control. But I kind of went, wait a minute, like this is one area that I've never invited God into. I told you, I've invited him into my mind, into my heart, but I've never invited him into my stomach. And so clearly the Holy Spirit was like, hey, maybe you should reach out to Kristen. So I remember from Bible study, like, hey, didn't you do something a while back? And so when you were explaining it to me and said, well, there's not really any eating plans, or I'm like, oh my God, what is this? How is there no food list or eating plan? And how is this going to work? And then automatically I felt out of control, knowing that I wasn't going to have a set like rules and parameters, because that, like my nature as a, just pretty much as type A as you can get, is I need those boundaries. And what I heard you say is, I'm not going to give you those boundaries. How is this going to work? But I prayed about it. And I just felt like God said, like, just trust me. So I did.
So, and so much of the tracks, right? The tracks is not the list and all the things externally. The tracks that the train stays on, if you will, the boundaries, is all internal. It's all spirit led. And so share a little bit about, now that you're skeptical, but after in the process of doing it, and even on the other side of it as an overcomer, how did that feel? Did it feel like, okay, I can do this and it does make sense? Or it was, did it bring peace? Did it bring still some skepticism or insecurities? What was happening?
Well, I think what really helped me is, so the program, it baby steps you, and you do have boundaries, which to me was very freeing. Like, okay, there's a boundary. I can stick to that boundary. I might get all the way up to that line, but I'm not going to cross it. Right. And so like, you give me my box and I'll stay in it. And so I think that was what was really helpful. I didn't just go from like no control to no control. It was, okay, this is where you've been. And so now we're going to put in this little boundary, and we kind of built boundaries. And then one by one, you take them away, because you're learning to not rely on the clock, or not rely on, a certain amount of time or a feeling, but really you're taking those boundaries away to then be free to what God is telling you to. And that's woven in. But for me, I was more focused on okay, I can do this. I cannot eat for 12 hours. I cannot do, whatever the assignment was for that week. And so I didn't have as much anxiety when the end of it was, no, really, we're listening to God and we're listening to our body, because we had already built that in, and then slowly kind of taken it apart piece by piece. It's really that simple.
Yeah. So I share with people that this is a true spirit, soul, body program. Like, we're all aspects. And so I would love for you to share what you learned about the voice of the body and the voice of the soul and the voice of the spirit. And so I know that's different than a lot of weight loss programs, if you will.
Yes. I really learned that there is a difference between, mind, body, spirit, and all three of them can work very well together. Or two out of the three can attack the one, right? Like, mind and body can really attack the spirit. Yeah. But if you're in tune with the spirit, then it's much easier to combat the thoughts and to combat the body, the yearning, like you physically feeling like I have to have this. But tapping into the spirit part, which I'd never even it makes perfect sense to me now, 40 plus days later. In the beginning, if you would have said, this is it, I'm like, no, that's not it. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. But it makes perfect sense. And really just learning to process the chaos of no, okay, this is your brain. Nope, this is your body reacting out of what it thinks is a physical need. And so for me, being very logical, it was like light bulbs coming on, or oh, this is the final 3 pieces to that food puzzle that I was needing, is understanding that they are different and how they can work really well together, or on the opposite, how they can, how the mind and the body can play against the spirit, which I just the awareness of that makes such a big difference. And then to have the courage and we call it willpower, but it's really the power of the Holy Spirit to listen and to implement what the Spirit is telling, is a whole nother level.
Yes. And so I share a bit about that. I share that, yes, this is, you will lose weight, but so much of this program is all about what God's Spirit is saying inside you. It's about intimacy. You're going to hear his voice. You're going to feel his presence. You're going to choose, if you'd like to, you can choose to be Spirit led and see the blessings and the fruitfulness from that. And so, again, that can sound very mystical and vague and so abstract.
Yeah.
I would love to get your input, like on the one side of you being in before approaching Choose Life Eating, feeling like, what does that even all mean, Kristen? And on the other side of, yes, much clarity. She was, as vague as that sounds, she was saying it accurately.
Right. Well, and for me, I am not your like idealist dreamer. Like I am your brass tacks, concrete. Like I'm not a visual person. I'm an auditory learner. So I just need to hear it. And so like if you're just telling me something, but you're like, just picture this, I'm like, no, draw it out for me, and then I'll process that.
I love you.
So
smile inside.
But you also have to be willing to be kind of the like the kooky spiritual lady who says, no, I'm not kooky. Like this is it. And this is how God has called us to live. And my spirit is telling me to tell myself no, which nobody wants to do that. Like if it was fun, everybody would do it, right? If it was easy, then everybody would do it. And so I think I had spent so much time quieting the spirit where food was concerned, but I didn't even realize that that's what I was doing. Yeah. And you quiet it through, even in noble things of like, staying within a point system where like, this is good for me. I'm eating healthier. I'm eating less. I'm losing weight. Like a surface level, this is good for me, but it's still causing me to ignore. It's still causing me to ignore my body. And one of the things that you said, which was really interesting to me, because I was like, well, I kind of like, I never thought in my wildest dreams I would be able to fast like for an extended period of time. And we talked about this, and I was like, I kind of liked it. And you're like, yeah, but it's not about that. It's about the praying, which is where me trying to like my body trying to take control again, and my brain trying to take control, and not necessarily listening to the spirit. But what you said to me that was so profound was like, ignoring the body one way or the other, that is what leads to eating disorders. So not eating when your body is hungry leads to one end, and then overeating when your body is saying, stop, I'm done, leads to an eating disorder on the other end. And so really just go like, that was so profound to me of like, oh, it was a kind of another light bulb moment of me going, oh, wait, this is me trying to control on the opposite end. Well, I'm used to overeating. So now I'm going to restrict on this end because it makes me feel good and empowered. It's like, oh no, that's not healthy either. It's praying to God and listening to your body when it tells you that you're hungry, which is really, really hard to do.
Yeah. Really I would say that, of course, there's much beauty and blessings and fruitfulness, and to not to throw in another abstract thing, but truly it is almost like eating from the modern day tree of life. And he is the life. He is the way, he is the truth and life, versus eating from this modern day tree of the knowledge of good and evil, where these diets are telling you this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad. Feel shame if you have this. Be proud of yourself if you have that. Right. All of that is bondage. It is bondage. And on that tree of the knowledge of good and evil and right, like there is a level of pride and where that it does. I remember I've been there. I can speak to it because I've lived it, but absolutely being in a place of communion and conversation and union and intimacy, and really just being honest. I'm not ignoring my body. What's my Choose Life choice here? And actually coming back for seconds if I actually don't need it. I just want it. It really is just the lust of the eyes. It really, and really being honest with yourself. And it's a beautiful thing because it causes us to truly mature and grow up in this way that maybe we hadn't before. And I know it took me years, but you did it in weeks, love.
Well, I probably spend more time repenting. Okay, God, or like I told you, like in the grocery store going, okay, God, this is what I would normally do. But I know in my heart that that's not the right answer. And I know that's not my best, and that's not my Choose Life choice. So I'm really going to need you to help me to not pick up X, which, I think the example Normally
And
I,
having that conversation, right?
okay, God, I'm really not hungry, but everybody's eating and I want to be eating because I don't want to miss out on the social, like help me to be okay with to help me to want the social interaction more than I want the food when I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And so I spend a lot of time going, okay, God, I messed up right there.
Yeah.
But right now I can stop that, or just trying to have that open dialogue is huge. And really just talking to him like I would talk to my husband. It doesn't have to be like a mythical, like super,
Right.
he's going to meet me where I'm at. And God, where I'm at right now is in my body.
Yes.
He is saying, shove that in your mouth. Put
Yeah.
it in your mouth right now. So I'm just like, okay, God, that starts a lot that way. Here we are.
And I love it. And I love the candid, everyday conversations and staying in step, in sync, in communion, in conversation, in intimacy, in union with him. And so talk a little bit about what that revealed in his character. I mean, you've walked with him for a while. You know he's loving and kind and good. But I would love to hear what else along, his beautiful character what other layer of him did you discover?
I think one of the things, you always hear that God cares about everything, right? Like the mundane so obviously, like the big things. And this was probably one of those times where I really just felt his care about something that I think most of us would say is mundane, right? Like, does he really care if I have a carrot or an apple? Does he really care if I have Ted's or Chewy's? Like, does he really care? And sometimes he doesn't. He's like, you know what? Just do. And then other times I definitely get a spirit check that's like, is this that best choice right now? Like, is this what and so I think just knowing that and knowing, you said in one of our meetings, in one of our chat sessions that, what did you say? That, you were quieting the spirit with food. Like you weren't listening. And he would tell you even like, hey.
Yeah, I was quenching him. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so that thought had just never occurred to me. Like, but that is something that was happening. So I wasn't willfully doing it. I mean, it was definitely like an ignorance is bliss. Like I didn't know that that's what I was doing. But once you said that and we're starting to break this down and really listen, I'm like, oh, he really is speaking to me about this choice right now. And normally I would just not even listen, keep going. And so really just learning that even if I think it's mundane or that God doesn't care, it's like, no, if you will listen, he will speak to you about it. Like one way or the other, which is that was really powerful. So it's like, who cares if I'm eating a carrot or an apple, or if I have, if I have hummus or not. And, I'm not saying that I sit there and pray about every single little choice, but in the beginning, you kind of do just to like put it to a test. Like, okay, God, are you really going to check me about this? Like, what are we, kind of testing that line of like, and also knowing myself, like, how obedient am I willing to be?
Yeah. And I will say what I'm hearing that is that as you are inviting him in, as you are initiating the conversation with him and sharing with him and wanting his input, you're able to hear his voice.
Right.
Like you're able to hear his voice. You're able to feel the nudge, to feel the prompting, to feel the leading of the yes or the no or the more or the less, which is huge.
Right.
When you're getting so in tune with feeling his voice and presence inside you, that whether you're talking about food or talking about, do I call the person back? How should I reply on the text?
Right.
All of the other things in your world throughout your day, now his voice has volume. You've turned up his voice. And now as you lean into the nudge, what he's saying, you're going to experience blessings and fruitfulness.
Right. Well, and I will say one of the other, I don't know that the word that's coming to mind, it's not the right phrase, but unintended consequence, but like in a positive consequence. I know we tend to think that consequence is negative, but consequences are also positive.
Yeah.
Is I'm not generally somebody who sleeps. I don't usually operate with a lot of sleep. And so through this, just learning to really listen to my body, not just my stomach, but to my body.
Yes. Everything.
I've gotten so much more sleep. Like I generally am like, I'm good if I get 5 hours. But like I'll be trying to stay up and push through and do something or read, and my body will just tell me, go to bed.
Yeah.
Okay. Or I'm trying to read something and my eyes are shut. I'm like, okay, I'm listening. I'm going to bed. I'm not going to push through this. And in general, I think, makes you just a bit happier of a person when you're sleeping a little bit.
Definitely a healthier person. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Definitely a choose life choice to go to sleep when you're tired. 100%.
That's right. Or even recognizing that you're tired, putting away the to-do list and going, okay, I'm tired. This is okay to leave this to-do list and just go to bed. So I've been working a little bit more on that.
So I say that it's like my joy to say choose life eating is not a diet. That means you don't have to stay on it forever. Like you can be done with it and still have those foundational scriptures rooted in you that they bear fruit. And so how do you feel like choose life eating has prepared you for the future, the rest of your life? What do you think?
I have 3 daughters. And
Good.
we know, right? Like there's just, even without our own internal, there's just so much external that shaming or guilt or expectation that's put on women in general. And so one of the reasons that I wanted to conquer this food battle, the right way.
Oh man, I love the word conquer. That's right.
Right. It's for my girls. And so that they can look at their mom and I can be living what I'm telling them.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing that before. And so obviously I haven't mastered it, but that is where I see this going. That is my hope. That's where I'm standing strong right now, is that I do have the foundations to show them, like, this is what it means to listen to your body. This is what it means to honor God with your body. And this is what it means to drown out what everyone else is saying, whether it be your fitness people telling you to eat 6 meals a day, or you need to fast for 20 and only eat 4, whatever extreme that it is. It's like, no, God has the answer, and we're going to listen to what he says for our bodies, because we're all unique and everybody's going to be different. So there's no one size fits all program. Our one size fits all program is, okay, God, now what?
Yes. Amen. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
That's my heart.
And I just want to remind the audience of the verse, or the foundational verse is Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 19. And in it, God is saying today, so it is a now word, I've set before you as witnesses, heaven and hell, but I've set before you life and death, blessings and curses. But this part, choose life so that you and your children may live. So what Ashley is saying about her choices and the impact her choices today in this now moment are having already on the next generation, her children, is not just her beautiful idea, although it is a beautiful idea. It does unlock things for the next generation, what you choose. But absolutely, it is God's faithfulness to his word that as she makes choose life choices, they will reap the benefits and they will reap blessings because of her choices. I love that. So, okay, there's so much to say about choose life eating. It's a little bit abstract. It can cause people to be skeptical and can maybe even confusing. What would you say to someone who's considering choose life eating?
I would say that if you have never invited God into your stomach, and you are a believer, what are you waiting for? Don't wait until 3 kids, 38. If you're younger, by all means. If you're older, there's no time like the present. But this is such an area that we have not, I feel like as a society, like as a Christian culture, society, we have not taken the time to invite God in. Yeah. And so I think that I truly believe that through this program and learning how to invite God in to the food space, to invite him into your spirit or to your stomach, that, generations, like you said, I do believe that it can break curses. It can break, just generational strongholds of this crazy thing that seems so simple like food, but is also it's such a difficult battle.
Yes. Yes. Well, I've seen you overcome and truly run through like banner after banner after banner. Seriously, things that you're like, I don't think I can do that. And you did it. And then you did it. And then you did it. And truly it was building a house. It was building this new temple, this new thing. It was just block upon block, one piece at a time. But I just really did, from my vantage point, saw you just as an overcomer, saw you triumphant. And so I just want to say thank you publicly. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for saying yes to God's nudge and allowing me to walk beside you in a transformative season of your life.
Well, I appreciate you coaching me through it. God definitely used you as his assistant for sure.
Well, it was easy. I just love you dearly, and so it's just so easy to just I don't know, have the touch points that we had, and the conversations that we had, and just the level of intimacy that we were able to just share together. So
Well, accountability is huge for me. So I think that also takes the program just up a notch, to have those touch points throughout the week, and the accountability, and just to say, hey, I'm doing great, or hey, I am not. And getting some immediate encouragement is huge at times when you're not, when you feel like, am I doing this right? God, what are we doing here? And so, him using you as affirmation, and to be reaffirming, and to just be, encouraging, was huge. And so I really appreciate that.
Wow, it was a joy. And really the key of his voice and his presence, you increasing that and learning what your choices are that cause it to quench, and you choosing for it to not, but instead make it louder and louder, navigating you and choosing to be led. That's it. Like, that unlocks everything in your life towards fruitfulness and beauty and abundance. Right. And so that's not necessarily, it's many people want to do that, but they don't really know how to walk that out practically.
Right.
And you do.
Well, I do now. I do now that I finished the program. So
it works in all aspects, relationships, right. Conversations, all of it. So buying a house, moving, all of it. So, well, thank you again. And audience, I just want to say, if you have any interest in Choose Life Eating, you can message me, you can ask me questions, it can be private, you can do it directly, you can put it on the Facebook page. I'm happy to love you, serve you, and assist you. And just like with Ashley, offer you accountability just in 6 weeks and 40 days, bring a transformation in your world, which will not only affect your body, but affect all these other rings in your life. So, love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.